Yes? You know what? Cantor, tell them to start coming in. We're going to start.
Some people up here are going to pause them.
Oh, my colleagues. Please come in, we're about to begin. If I can ask everyone to come in and take a seat, we're about to begin. We're about to begin.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Excuse me.
If everyone who's entering wants to grab a siddur and a chumash right from the doorway, please feel free to take one. Why am I hearing myself but a minute behind? Why am I always behind? This isn't on?
No.
It seems on.
Go ahead.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'd like to ask everyone to please take your siddur, the blue siddur for Shabbat and festivals. We're going to begin with a portion of the service known as Birchot HaShachar and Pesukei de Zimra. These are warm-up prayers in order to sort of get us spiritually in the mood and ready to fully pray, just like you might stretch before a workout. So this is a spiritual workout for us. We're going to begin on page 65 in the blue books. I'm going to ask you, I know I told you everyone to come in and take a seat, but now I'm going to ask you to rise. Please rise in your seats. And like I said, we're going to begin on page 65. It's a long list of prayers known as Birchot HaShachar, or the blessings over the dawn. Although I know some of us have been up for hours, especially the Kruger family. But the idea is now that we're a community, we come together and we say this list of blessings. So it's also customary, as many of you probably know, after you hear a bracha or a blessing in Hebrew, you respond by saying, Amen. Very good. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lasach v'yivina l'vchein beinu u'vein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani b'tzamaho. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani ben chorihim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach v'yivrihim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam al bishar umihim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam atir asurihim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufihim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rakarat al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasad likot tzarkihi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam echlemitz tzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam azer zeh b'gvuraha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam artei Yisrael b'tifaraha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam noten life koach. You may be seated. We continue silently until the bottom of the page. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam. Unena have yom achol yom achayinu chasarachamim beinecha v'reinu kareinu v'tkimilenu chasadim tovim baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael Yihirat sam lefanecha le'avatah shetzilenu hayom v'chol mo'ez afeinim mizu panim edam racham v'chavera mesachatan megafera mesatin hashchit bein kasher bein baldim kasher ben shoven bri ben shoven brihit Ribon kol olim lo tzedakenu nachnu papilim tachnu lefanecha kirach necha rabihim. Ashreinu matzav chlevkeinu mana'im goraleinu ma'yafar shatenu ashreinu shanachnu mashkim yuvarivim erev v'voker v'mpayim b'chal yom Shema Yisrael and Eloheinu Adonai echad Baruch Shem kivod machuto le'olam v'ed Atu shel olam atu shel olam atu l'olam hazeh v'atu l'olam haba Kaddish et shemol mekdish becha v'kaddish et shemcha b'mecha v'shitzchar tarim t'kibah karneinu Baruch atah Adonai mekaddish et shemcha m'rabihim atu shema m'aret Beit havi yedchem, beit gatz b'yedchem, ki yetein etchem l'shalom yitzalei b'chol ma'aretz b'shechem lechem amar Adonai. Rabbi Shmuel Omer b'shosh asara mitot haTorah nidrasha mikol v'chol mergezer shava begin m'tikim nichal b'shmein kedimu klal farat mefrat v'klal. דבר מימינו, דבר מסופו, וכן שייכים מחשים זד זד שבו הקדוש שישכר ביניהם. יהי רצון ולפניך נראה לנו אבותינו, שניבנה בית המקדש במהרה בימינו, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, שם נעבדה בירה, כימי עולם וכשנים כאן באוניות. Page 71, the Kaddish de Rabbanan. All those in mourning are observing a yard site. Please join me. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'izman kari v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Umeol Maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei D'Kudashah Brechu Le'elah Min Kol B'Yarchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechamata D'Amiran B'Alma V'imaru Amen. Al Yisrael v'Al Rabbanan v'Al Tamidehon v'Al Kol Tamidehon v'Al Kol Mandeskin Beraita Diva Tra Hadein v'Di B'Chol Atar V'Atar Yehei Lechon Lechon Shlama Rabba China V'Chista V'Rachamin V'Chayin Arichinu V'Zonal Rivicha U'Forkana Min Kadam Avulhon Di Bishmaya V'imaru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Tovim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'imaru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimramav Uvrachamav Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'imaru Amen. Page 72, Shir Shel Yom, the Psalm for Shabbat. Hayom Yom Shabbat Kodesh, Buh Nuvrei Tamikdash, Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat Tov, L'Adonai L'Adonai, L'Meshlim Kol Hayon, Lagi B'Bocher Chastech, V'Mincha B'Leilot, Alei Asor V'Alei V'Alei HaBichon B'Chinor. Tikshov. Sadik Katama Yifrach, Keres Bavanon Yisge, Shetulin Beveta Adonai, Bechatzot Elohein Yarfichu, O, Dinuvun Beseva, Deshanim Ranim Yehu, Lagi Kishar Adonai, Tzri Velo Avlata Boho. Page 81. Mizmor Shir, Chanukat Habayit LeDavid. Hafakta misbedil machali, pitakta sakretus, sing the simcha lamani zemecha chabo v'lo yidom, Adonai Elohai Elolam Odeka. Page 82, the Mourner's Kaddish, all those in mourning observing a yortzeit. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich machlutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kari v'imeru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Umeol Maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei D'Kudashah Brechu Le'elah Min Kol B'Yarchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechamata D'Amiran B'Alma V'imaru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'imaru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'imaru Amen. We rise, page 83, for the second part of the preliminary service known as Pesukei de Zimra, passages of song, with Baruch She'amar, page 83. Baruch She'amar v'hayahu laham, Baruch Hu, Baruch Haseh v'reshit, Baruch HaMev v'oseh, Baruch HaOzem Kayem, Baruch HaMercham ha'aretz, Baruch HaMercham ha'briot, Baruch Hashem Tzchatav L'Raya, Baruch Alad V'Kayim L'Netzach, Baruch Adonai Matzil, Baruch Shemaho, Baruch Atah Adonai L'Machalam, Hayel HaVarachaman, Hu Mefia Bo, V'Shubachim Far, B'Shon Chasidav, V'Avidav, Shirei David Abdechon, Allah Adonai Elohim, B'Shimchon Zero, Nigadechon, Shbechachon, V'Cham, M'Skir Shimchal M'Chacham, M'Chain Elohinu, Yachid Chayolami, Melech M'Shubachim Fe'edei Shemo HaGadol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Melech Behulal, Batish Bachot. Page 96, you may be seated, the Ashrei. Ashrei Ashrei V'Techa Jalu Chasela, Ashrei Ha'am Shekachalo, Ashrei Ha'am Shadonai Elohav Tehilad David, Armimcha Elohai HaMelech, Baruch Hashem Chol Olam Va'ed. Tilat Adonai Deber Pi Vivarech Kol Basar Shem Kodsho Le'Olam Va'ed V'Anachnu Nevarech Yam E'etav Olam. Hallelujah. Page 100 in the middle. Hallelujah Bekodsho, Halu B'Kiozo, Halu B'Givrotav, Halu Karov Gudlo, Halu B'Teka Shofar, Halu B'Nevel Chinor, Halu B'Tofa Machol, Halu B'Minim Bugav, Halu B'Tzil Tzilei Shema, Halu B'Tzil Tzilei Shua, Kol Shemata Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Kol Shemata Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Baruch Hanalam, Amen V'Amen, Baruch Hanai Mitzon Shalayim, Hallelujah, Baruch Hanai Elohim Elohei Yisrael, Seit Levado, Baruch Shem Kavado, Olam, Yimelech Levado, Kol Haaretz, Amen v'amen. We rise, top of 101. V'yivarech David v'nikol kahal v'yomer David. Atahu Adonai Asher Bechat Abraham Hasniach Moskasim Samta Shema Abraham Matzvah Lamon Aman Lefanecha Bacharot Imo Hapir Latetet Kanani Hachit Yamor Ripasi Bagashi Latetet Zorot Zikamer Zikatikata. V'hayam bakata lifneihem v'yituchem b'yam b'asha everything shlachim b'tzlok mo'even b'mayim azim v'yosh Adonai b'yom Yisrael miyam Mitzrayim mahit Mitzar Yisrael mitosat rayam v'Yisrael tagidola asher asad Mitzrayim v'yiminu Adonai Moshe avdaho Az Yashir Moshe v'nei Yisrael Tashir Azel Limor Shel Adonai Kiko Aga'as Yisfor Korma V'yam Ozi V'zimajav Eli Lishua Zeli V'neihu Elohi Arim Nemehu Adon Shmechama Adonai Shemo Mi Kamocha V'alim Adonai Mi Kamocha Nadav HaKodesh Noti Lo Tosef Ele Machon l'shivta chapalta Adonai mikdash Adonai kanunu yedecha Adonai yimloch l'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch l'olam va'ed Ki l'Adonai hamlecha Moshe b'goyim lo mushim b'hartzim l'shbatar Esav v'hitel l'an hamlecha v'haydel melech kol haaretz v'yom Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. We continue at the top of page 104. Nishmat kol chai. The breath of all that lives praises your name. Nishmat kol chai tivarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. Adonai mi kamocha matzil ani michazak mimenu v'ani avion magzalo mi melach mi shavelach mi yarach lach ha'el hagadol hagibor hanara el elyon k'neshaman va'aretz v'elcha n'shabechacha n'vercha n'verechet shem kodshecha k'amor l'davi brachi nafshi et Adonai v'chol krovai et shem kodsho ha'el b'tatzumot u'zecha hagadol bichvot shemecha Hagibor Lanetzach Vanara Menotecha Hamelach Hayoshev Al Kiseiram Venisaha. We continue in the middle of page 105 with Shochenan, Cantor Caravani. For your benefit is going to take over as we segue into the Shachri, or the official beginning of the morning service for Saturday morning. Come stand near me. Come stay here.
Shochenad Maharom Vekadosh Shemo לפי שם תתהלל, דברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ומקהלות רבבות, עמך בית ישראל. שכן חובת כל הצורים לפניך. It's good for you, Lily. You need the book, or you can read for me. You can read for me, or you need the book. לברך לעלות וקלס, הכל דברי שירו ותשבחו, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך.
We rise top of 106.
השתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. I'll let you know.
Do I go first?
You want to go first? Okay, wait. Everything good. ברכות והודעות נתת ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך אלכי העולמים.
Yigadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'amad yivra kirute ve'amlich malchute ve'chayechon uvyomechon uchayedecho bet Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'meru Amen. Yehesh merabah mevora le'olam ulal me'omaya yidbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitroma ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yithaleh ve'yithalal shemei dekudesha brechu le'elamim kol berchata ve'shirata tush v'chata v'nehemarta v'aviram ve'omam ve'imeru Amen. Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam. Repeat.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Mochalam b'tzoro leborech choshech oseh shalom uvoreh et hakohol.
You may be seated in the middle of 107.
אין כרכך אדוני בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי עולם הבא. אפס בלתך גואלנו לימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים. אל אדון על כל המעשים, ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה, גודלו וטובו מלא עולם, דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו. המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכות ומשול לפני כיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מאורות שברם אלוהינו, תרם בדעת בבינה ובשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים בקרב תבל. מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נאה זיום בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם, ששים בבואם, עושים באמה רצון קונם. פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, רעב והתקין צורת הלבנה. שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מהרום, תפארת וגדולה שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש. נר אשר שבת מכל המעשים. 109. תתברך משה נשום במעשה ידיך ועל מורו שעשית יפרוך הסלע. תתברך צורנו מלכנו וגואלנו בורא קדושי. כולם אוהבים, כולם ברורים, כולם גיבורים, וכולם עושים במעבירה רצון קונם, וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושת תורה, בשירה בזיורה מברכים, שבחים ומפארים, מעריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול והגיבור הקדוש הוא. להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח, בשפה ורבים הקדושה, כולם כאחדונים אומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו, בפנים וחיות הקודש ברעש גדול מתנסים ומצרפים לעומתם משבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו לאל ברוך נעמות תיתנו. אור חדש על ציון תהי ונזכה כולנו נאמר על אורו ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. אהבה רבה אהבתנו אדוני אלוהינו. לקיים את דברו תלמוד תורתך באהבה. Good morning everyone, we are here for Alier and Lily. All Westbury, it's meaning we need to clapping, because bar mitzvah with not clapping is not bar mitzvah. So let's clap with me please. 1, 2, 3 and go. ויאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו אהבה וליראה את שמך, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, ולא נבוש לעולם ועד, כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו, נגילה ונשמחה, נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. You are so great, I invite you to next Shabbat also. תוליכם מלוכים נרצן כפרשות, אתה מרחתם מכל המרשום, מקרבתם לשמוע גדול סלע באמת, תותותך לחתך בית שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. Cover your eyes on the right hand, both of you. 1, 2, go.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם. Go.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלתך בדרך, ובשופך, ובחומך, ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפו בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
Good job. Ariel, also you make a good job in Chazikah. You feel confident. Unbelievable. למען יאמרו מכם ממלכם האדמה שנשבע אדוני לאבותיכם, לתת להם כי מהשמיים על הארץ. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר בני ישראל אמרת להם, עשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם מדורותם ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית וריתם אותו, זכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם אחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם בארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. So missing me חמוך באלים אדוני. פדונו מצינו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך, עזרת אבותינו אתה ומעולם. Page 114. תהילות אלוהים ברוך ומורך משה מנסה לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם מי כמוך
באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלך. שירה חדשה שבחו גאולים לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל עובדך נומך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We rise. We begin what's known as the Amidah, or the standing portion of the service together. We're looking straight ahead, if we can, towards the Aron Kodesh, the Holy Ark, and of course eastward towards Jerusalem, as we always direct our thoughts and prayers. We begin together with Cantor Caravani and some assist from the Kruger sisters, page 115b.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לפני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים, סומך ורופא ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקורש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנסים לעומת צרפים לעומתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ממקומך מכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בקרוב בימינו, בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה, ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר אמור, כדבר אמור בשירי עוזך לדוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון. You want to sing לדור ודור?
Yeah.
אוקיי, אחד.
Where is it?
אוקיי, let's be respond. אחד, שתיים, שלוש. לדור, go.
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד
let's hear all of you, please.
לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור,
דור ודור,
לדור ודור,
דור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, גדול וקדוש אתה. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, גדול וקדוש אתה.
ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Continue to dive silently in the Hebrew, the English through page 120. We're going to continue in a moment, page 138 with Kaddish Shalem, and just to make their way up to the Ark, because we're going to open that in 2 moments, I'd like to call up Stacy and David Saraf, and to close it, once we've taken the Torah out, Lauren and Roman Schinder.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעולמה דברה קירותי במחמחותי בחייכון ובמכון ובחיידך בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ואימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעול מעולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה, לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בעלמה ואימרו
Amen.
תתקבץ לוטון ובאותון דכל ישראל קדם עוון דשמע ואימרו
Amen.
יש למה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואימרו
Amen.
Let we sing together עושה שלום
ממרומיו.
הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום,
שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
ואמרו אמן.
Page 139, we continue Seder Kriyat Torah, the service are opening up and subsequently taking out and reading from the Torah scroll.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום אהבה רחמים היטיבה ברצונך את ציון תבנה חומות ירושלים תבנה חומות ירושלים כי בך לבד בטחנו מלך רם ונישא אדון עולמים. ויבצעו אהרון ביום במשה קומה אדוני ויפוצו אוהביך וינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי בציון תצא תורה כי בציון תצא תורה עוד דבר אדוני מירושלים ברוך שנתן תורה תורה ברוך שנתן תורה תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו.
We continue with the Aramaic passage from the Zohar, middle of 139, until the 6th line from the top of page 140. Okay.
באנה רחץ ולשמי קדישה קדישה יקירה אנא אמר תושבך באנה רחץ ולשמי קדישה קדישה יקירה אנא אמר תושבך יהי רבה קודמה ותפתח ליבי באורי תשלים משאלים לליבי לליבו וכל עמו ישראל תעבור חיים וישלח אמן.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Gadol Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol. Take the paper, turn around please. Turn around and we go. Gadol. Adonai, Agdola,
Moshe. Torah. We'd like to invite Alon Grushkin to make his way up for the first Aliyah. The Torah reading can be found if you want to, and you could all be seated. You could put down your blue books. If you want to take out your red Eitz Chaim Chumashim, right, the large books. This is where we could follow the Torah. The Torah reading is Parshat Truma, which deals with the construction, almost the blueprints, the description. It's a great parsha for structural engineers or architects of the Mishkan, or the sanctuary. It's the first communal structure of worship in Jewish history when the Israelite nation was in its fledgling state and still traveling in the desert. The Torah reading can be found page 495, chapter 26, page 495, beginning verse 31. Again, if you're following along at home and you have a different edition of the Chumash, it's page 400, it's chapter 26, verse 31 of the biblical book of Exodus. And again, we invite Alon Grushkin for the first Aliyah, and then if he wants to make his way up just to be ready for the second Aliyah in a few minutes, Andrew Marcus.
Hebrew name? עשית את הקרשים, עשית פרוכת, תחילת וארגמן, אוקיי, ידע. Take your corner if you turn it here. Yes. And everything is here.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Olam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Hold the Torah here. ועשית פרוכת תכלת וארגמן בתולת שני ב600 זהר מעשה חושב יעשה אותה קרובים ונתת אותה על 4 עמודי שיטים מצופים זהב ובהם זהב על 4 אדני כסף ונתת את הפרוכת תחת הכרסים והבאת שמה מבית לפרוכת את ארון העדות והבדילה הפרוכת לכם בין קודש ובין קודש הקודשים.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata, b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you very much.
The turning continues, page 495, chapter 26, verse 34. This is a description of the screen, the stitch work that went before the Ark of the Covenant, not unlike the parochet or the screens we have when we open the Ark to take out the Torah, which you see on our Ark, and also in the far corner you can see to my right, it is actually the curtain from the old sanctuary that we now have hanging on the wall behind glass.
Baruch Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher baruch rabbanim b'kol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Look like you know everything if you want to read also. אמן, ונתת את הכפורת על ארון העדות בקודש הקודשים, ושמת את השולחן מחוץ לפרוכת, ואת המנורה נוכח השולחן על צלע המשכן תמנה, והשולחן תיתן על צלע הצפון, ועשית מסך לפתח האוהל תכלת וארגמן בתולד שני, ושש מוסר מעשה רוקם, ועשית למסך 5 עמודי שיטים וציפית אותם זהב, ובהם זהב ויצקת להם 5 אדני נחושת.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
The turning continues, page 496, chapter 27, describing the Ark of the Covenant and how it's made.
Ben Ephraim.
And taking this Aliyah, we're pleased to have up as a guest, visiting us this Shabbat along with his wife, Richard Sepler, past president of the Jericho Jewish Center, whose son and daughter-in-law and grandchildren belong to our community. So very happy to have him here.
עשית את המזבח.
Baruch Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch
Baruch
Le'olam
Adonai
Va'ed.
Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'charbanu mikol hamim v'nasan lanu es Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
אמן, ועשית את המזבח עצי שיטים 5 אמות אורך ו5 אמות רוחב, רבוע יהיה המזבח ו3 אמות קומתו, ועשית קרנותיו על 4 פינותיו, ממנה תהיינה קרנותיו, וציפית אותו נחושת, ועשית סירותיו לדשנו, ויעב ומזרקותיו ומזלגותיו ומחתותיו, לכל כליו תעשה נחושת.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher nasan lanu Toras emes v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
אמן.
Amen. We'd like to call up for the 4th Aliyah, Sean and Rachel Jacobson, to make their way up to the Bima for the 4th Aliyah, the maternal aunt and uncle of Lily and Ari. And the turning continues with the 4th Aliyah, page 496, chapter 27, verse 8, a further description of the altar for sacrifice and how it was constructed and how it would be transported when the Israelite nation was traveling in the desert.
Your Hebrew name?
Ben Delatert.
Okay, touch him, kiss here. Okay.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
אמן. אמן. ועשית לו מחבר נחושת מעשה רשת נחושת, ועשית על הרשת 4 טבעות נחושת על 4 קצותיו, ונתת אותה תחת כרכום המזבח מלמטה, והייתה הרשת עד חצי המזבח, ועשית בדים למזבח בדי עצי שיטים, וציפית אותם נחושת, והובא את בדה בטבעות, והיו הבדים השתי צלות המזבח בסט אותו נבוב, לוחו תעשה אותו, כאשר הראה אותך בהר כן יעשו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. The Torah reading continues, page 497, verse 9, a description of the enclosure of the sanctuary, the open-air structure. And taking this aliyah are the paternal grandparents of Ari and Lily. We're honored to have up Norman and Hadassah Kruger.
That's it. You call them up? Okay, please say the blessing.
Baruch
Adonai Morach L'olam Va'ed. Baruch. אמן. ועשית את חצר המקדש, המשכן, לפאת נגב תימנה, כלאים לחצר 600 זהר, מהבמה אורך לפיה אחת, ועמודיו 20 ועדניהם 20, נחושת ועמודים, וחשוקיהם כסף, וכן לפאת צפון באורך כלאים מהאורך, ועמודו 20, ועדניהם 20 נחושת ועמודים, וחשוקיהם כסף, וכרוחב וחצר לפאת ים, כלאים 50 אמה, עמודיהם 10, ועדניהם 10. Really? You two now, to read. Hold this. You don't say the blessing. Wait, but you have to wait because someone coming up now to say the blessing, okay? Finish it. Okay. But you wait to see someone coming up. Amen. Chazak u'baruch.
The sixth aliyah continues with Alfred and Barbara Braverman. If they want to make their way up to the aliyah, the maternal grandparents of Ari and Lily. And the Torah reading can be found on page 497, chapter 27, verse 13 in the Hebrew or the English.
You find it? Noam, and what your mother Hebrew name? Malcolm. Okay. Stay here. No, you come here, this side, right side. Really go to the middle, please. Very good. Okay. Say the blessing. Together. 1, 2, 3.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. V'rochav hechatzer lif'at kedma mizracha 50 amah v'chamesh esrei amah kala'im lakatef amudehem shalosha adnehem shalosha ulakatef hashedit 15 kala'im amudehem shalosha adnehem shalosha Usha'ar hechatzer masach esrim amah techelet ve'argaman v'tolat shatni v'shesh mosar ma'asei rokem amudehem arba adnehem arba.
Good job, beautiful job. Yes.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'torateinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yishar Kochech. We want to thank Lily Kruger on such a great Torah reading, and now her sister Ariel is going to chant for us with the 7th Aliyah, and we call up her parents for this Aliyah, Noam and Marla Kruger. Torah reading continues, page 497, chapter 27, verse 17.
Okay. Tajik is here. No, Tajik is the Torah. You know what to do. And both of you loud and clear. 1, 2, 3.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamborach. Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
1 second. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Kol amodei hamid Kol amodei hachatzer saviv mechushakim kesef vavehem kasef ve'adnehem nechoshet orech hechatzer me'ava amah ve'rochav 50 ב-50 וקומה 5 אמות 600 צר ועדניכם נחושת לכל כלי המשכן וכל עבודתו וכל יתדות החל וכל יתדות החצר נחושת.
Good job, good job.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Please rise.
You stay here, you're not going. No, you stay here.
We like to keep you.
Ariel ולili, stay here and do it together. Do חציקה, 1, 2, 3.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועמד דברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכון וביומכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה
בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולם מעומיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה ברכו, לעלמים כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן.
I'm going to recite Misha Berach, a prayer of well-being for all those in our community who are sick or ailing. If you have the name of someone, I'm going to pause briefly in the Hebrew. If you want to come forward and just tell me the name, whisper the name to me in the Hebrew or the English or the Yiddish or the Farsi. If you're Zooming from home and you want to just say the name aloud when I pause in the Hebrew, please feel free to do so, and that way we'll pray for their speedy and their hopeful recovery. Misha Berach l'metein raham yitzchak v'yakov tzrichach l'leah hu yivarech v'yarpeh kol ha'mkilateinu et. Chaya bat Esther. Schwartz? וכל המגילה הקדוש הקדוש ברוך הוא מלא רחמים עליהם וכלתם לאותם משך מרפושים ושמם רפואת הנפש רפואת הגוף בתוך שייך לישראל שבת מזרוק רפוק לבוא השל בגלל זמן קריב ונאמר Amen. We'll now recite the Misha Berach, a prayer of well-being for all those, the brave men and women serving in our behalf in the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, and of course the armed forces of the United States of America, who protect our way of life, our values, both here and abroad, both in our eternal and adopted homeland.
Since you was a very good choir, I want you just to repeat my word. It's very easy. It's in Hebrew, but repeat me, please. Misha Berach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Hu yevarech et chayalei Tzva Hagana leYisrael. One more time loud. Misha Berach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Hu yevarech et chayalei צבא הגנה לישראל עומדים משמר ארצנו והרי אלוהים מגבול הלבנון ועד בדמה מצרים מן הים הגדול ובעל הבא ביבשה באוויר ובים ייתן אדוני לנו תקווים ולקפים לפניהם הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויצילנו חיים כל הצרה וצוקה ומגנה מחלה וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם כי אדוני אלוהיכם עליכם החיים מלחם את שיעתכם ונאמר אמן. מישה ברח אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב יברך את חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל ונאמר אמן. יעמדו כלות הבת מצווה אריאל וליאת בת נועם ומלכה מפטיר בכבוד.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
כל עמודי החצר סביב מחושקים כסף, והם כסף, ואדניהם נחושת, אורך החצר 100 אמה, ורוחב 50 ב50, וקומה 500 600 זר, ואדניהם נחושת, לכל כלי המשכן, בכל עבודה טוב, וכל יתדות החל, וכל יתדות החצר נחושת.
Good job. Now together the blessing. 1, 2, 3.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
It's my honor at this time to bless these two beautiful young ladies on the occasion of their Benot Mitzvah, becoming Benot Mitzvah in front of friends and family. First in the Hebrew and then in the English. Mishaberach Matamar Hamitzkach Yaakov Rivka Rechav Elayah Hu Yivarech Et Liat Ve'Ariel Bat Noam Ve'Malka Shehigihu Limitzvot Va'alu Likvod HaMakom Likvod HaTorah Likvod HaShabbat HaKodesh Baruch Hu Yishmereihem Yichayehem Yichlonen Et Libehem Lihiyot Shema Im Adonai Elohehem Lahago B'Toratchem Lalechem B'Drachehem Lishmor Mitzvotehem Lishlach Bracha V'Atzlacha B'Chol Maseh Yedehem Yehir Ratzon Sheyizku Horehem Lagadlu LaTorah L'Chupa L'Masim Tovim V'Timsa Chen V'Sechel Tov B'Enei Elohim Ve'Adam and Omar, Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless both Lily and Ari, who have been called to the Torah upon reaching the age of mitzvot with reverence for God, the Torah, and Shabbat. May the Holy One protect and sustain them, helping them to be wholehearted in their faith, to study Torah and fulfill mitzvot, and to walk in God's ways. May Lily and Ariel's parents rear them to maturity, guiding them to a love of Torah, Jewish learning, to the chuppah. Do you know what that is? What? The marriage canopy. Yeah. First, we've got Leo's bar mitzvah to worry about, right? And to life of good deeds. May they both find favor before God and all the community, and let us all say, Amen. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise as we're about to lift the Torah and tie it. So I'd like to call up for lifting the Torah Alon Yaren, and for the Galila, for tying the Torah, Erica Whittington. What's your Hebrew name?
Esther Bat Avraham. Oh, that's a piece of cake. No.
You may be seated. The Haftarah, or the selection this Shabbat from the Book of Prophets, can be found on page 499. It comes from 1 Kings chapter 5, verses 26 through chapter 6, verse 13. By the way, chapter 6, verse 13, 613, a very auspicious number, right? The total number of mitzvot, of commandments found in the Torah. Again, page 499 is the introduction, and the Hebrew and English text in the following pages. It was chosen because it talks about King Solomon, who dedicated the very first temple in Jerusalem back about 3,000 years ago, and it corresponds thematically with this week's Torah reading, which is about the first communal structure in Jewish history for worship, which was, of course, the sanctuary when they were traveling in the desert and they needed something portable, unlike the permanent temple in Jerusalem, which stood until it was destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 before the Common Era. So sharing the Haftarah this morning, we have two maftirot. We have the twin girls, Ariel and Lily Kruger, and they're going to begin with the opening blessings and then go into the Haftarah text itself. Again, if you want to follow along in the Hebrew or the English, it's page 500 in the following pages. If you have a different edition at home, it's chapter 5, verse 26 of the book of 1 Kings.
Candy kids, please, coming over. Leo, your responsibility. Wait. Okay, we're gonna be taking now. Ariel, we take a good breath. Everything okay, you know, perfect job. But I want to make very close to the microphone. You're far away. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar ben v'im tovim v'ratza v'divrehem hana'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'eh ha'emet v'tzedek. I know. Ve'Adonai natan chokhma lishlomo ka'asher diber lo vehi shalom ben Hiram uven Shlomo veyichretu verit shenem vaya'al hamelech Shlomo mas Mikol Yisrael, Vehi Hamas, 30,000 ish, Vayishlachem Levanona, 10,000 bechodesh chalifot, chodesh Yehiu veLevanon, 2 chodashim, beveto, va'adoni ram. Al Hamas Vehi lishlomo 70,000 noses abal u'shmonim,000 chotzev ba'ar levad Misarei havitzavim lishlomo asher al hamelacha 3,000 u'shlosh harodim ba'am ha'osim b'amlacha vayitzav hamelech v'asiyu avanim gedulot avanim yekarot לעשת הבית אבני גזית. ויפסלו בוני שלמה ובוני חירום והגבליב ויכינו העצים והאבנים לבנות הבית. ויהי ב80 שנה ו400 שנה לעושת בני ישראל מארץ מצרים בשנה הרביעית בחודש זיו הוא החודש השני למלוך שלמה על ישראל. ויבן הבית לאדוני והבית אשר בנה המלך שלמה לאדוני 60 אמה אורכו ו20 רוחבו ו30 אמה קומתו. והאולם על פני היכל הבית 20 אמה אורכו, על פני רוחב הבית 10 באמה, רוחבו על פני הבית.
ויעש לבית חלוני שקופים אטומים, ויבן על קיר הבית יציע סביב, את קירות הבית סביב, לחיכל ולדביר והצלעות סביב. היציע התחתונה 5 באמה רוחבה, והתיכונה 6 באמה רוחבה, והשלישית 7 באמה רוחבה. כי מגרעות נתן לבית סביב חוצה לביתי אחוז בקירות הבית. והבית בהיבנותו אבן שלם המסע נבנה ומקרות, והגרזן כל כלי ברזל לא נשמע בבית בהיבנותו. פתח הצלע התיכונה אל כתף הבית הימנית, וגלולים יעלו על התיכונה, ומן התיכונה אל השלישים. ויבן את הבית ויחלכו ויספון את הבית גבים ושדרות וארזים. ויבן את היציע על כל הבית 5 אמות קומתו, ויאחוז את הבית בעצי ארזים. ויהי דבר אדוני אל שלמה לאמור, הבית הזה אשר אתה בונה, אם תלך בחוקותי ואת משפטי תעשה, ושמרת את כל מצוותי ללכת בכם, והקימותי את דברי איתך, אשר דיברתי אל דוד אביך. ושכנתי בתוך בני ישראל, ולא אעזוב את דמי ישראל.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Tzor kol haolamim Tzadik bechol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'aseh Ha'medaber u'mekayem She'kol devarav emet v'tzedek Ne'eman Atahu Adonai Eloheinu V'ne'emanim devarecha V'devar echad midvarecha Achor lo yeshuv recham Ki el melech ne'eman V'rachaman ata Baruch ata Adonai Ha'el ha'ne'eman B'chol devarav
Rachem al Tzion ki hivet chayenu Vela aluvat nefesh toshia Bimhera vayamenu Baruch ata Adonai Mesameach Tzion bevanecha Samechenu Adonai Eloheinu be'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha Uvel malchut bet David Mishihecha Bimhera yavo Ve'yagel libenu al kiso lo yeshazar Velo inchalu od echarim et kevodo Ki veshem kochach nishbatalo Shelo ichbe nero leolam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai Magen David Al HaTorah Ve'al HaAvodah Ve'al HaNevi'im Ve'al Yom HaShabbat Hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu L'Kedusha ve'Limlucha L'Kvod u'Tifaret Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach U'mevarchim otach Yidbarach Shimcha Befi Chol Chai Tamid Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat
Amen. Good job. Now gently throw the candy, please. Okay, now we start fire. Now we have to clapping together and singing. Siman tov, mazal tov, mazal tov, siman tov, mazal tov, mazal tov, siman tov, mazal tov, mazal tov, siman tov. Yehelanu, 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 Lily and Ariel. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Lily and Ariel, Kruger, David Melech Israel, Chai v'kayam. David Melech Israel, Chai v'kayam. Ay, 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 Siman tov, mazal tov, mazal tov, Siman tov, mazal tov, mazal tov, Siman tov, mazal tov, mazal tov, Siman tov. Yehelanu, 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 O lechol Yisrael. Yehelanu, Yehelanu, O lechol Yisrael. David Melech Israel, Chai v'kayam. David Melech Israel, Chai v'kayam.
I'm going to invite Lily and Ariel to present their divrei Torah, their sermons, the words of Torah, which they have prepared with me, working together these past several months. Every so often, I have the honor of working with twins, sometimes twin boys, sometimes twin girls, sometimes twin boy and girl. It was truly an honor working with these two. They are just lovely, adorable, mature young ladies. And particularly, I loved watching Ariel do that little dance step when people were clapping along. So very, very cute. But I'm going to invite them up now, and they're going to deliver they're going to, each deliver their sermons while speaking slowly and clearly and not forgetting to enunciate each and every word, while also flashing us that beautiful smile of theirs. But don't be nervous. I give you the Kruger sisters, Ariel, Ari, and Lily.
Shabbat Shalom. In my Haftorah, the construction of the Temple of Solomon begins. God tells King Solomon to build a synagogue to establish a holy and safe place for the children of Israel, and in return, God will abide among the children of Israel and never forsake them. As a result, Solomon gathered 30,000 men and split them into thirds to bring back the finest materials from Lebanon. Then they would start preparing and shaping the materials by hand until they reached perfection. While reading the Haftorah, I realized how hard it was to build the temple. Since the synagogue was a holy place, the people building the temple were to only build and prepare the stone with their hands and with no iron tools so as not to disturb Hashem. Then they also had to make an elaborate design for the temple. As precise and challenging as the work was, the Israelites felt a sense of loyalty and commitment, knowing the result would be to have a permanent place to directly connect to God. I have learned firsthand as a guitarist that beautiful things can be created with hard work and determination. Learning how to play guitar in a band means learning rhythm, tune, chords, and most importantly, how to have patience and commitment. For me, learning to play a song on guitar doesn't just happen. It is a labor of love that requires me to practice day in and day out until I can do it. But as challenging as learning new chords or mastering scales on my guitar has been, nothing has required the hard work and effort like preparing for my bat mitzvah. I've spent countless hours practicing to read Torah and my Haftorah, learning all of the prayers, as well as writing a speech. Although it was difficult, I was driven by my commitment to Judaism, much like the Israelites building the synagogue. Through the process of becoming a bat mitzvah, I have learned that most things of significance cannot be completed in one day. Hard work, patience, and a commitment to anything you do is necessary in order to achieve great things. A few months ago, I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art with my mom. We looked at everything from ancient Greek and Roman sculptures to Claude Monet and George Seurat. But what I found most inspiring was the model of the Temple of Solomon. The intricate design and incredible detail truly amazed me. This edifice is not only a work of art, but it is a symbol of the Jews' devotion to God, and in return, they would know that they would have a place to feel safe in. It is especially important at a time like this, considering the anti-Semitic attack at a synagogue in Texas not even a month ago. I later learned that the model was donated from Albert Kalimian, a member at our congregation who is actually on Zoom with us today. I cannot even describe how proud I felt at that moment to not only be a Jew, but to be part of the Old Westbury Hebrew congregation. I would like to thank all of you for coming to my bat mitzvah. I especially would like to thank the rabbi and the cantor for helping me with everything, as well as my friends and family. I could not have achieved any of this without you. Last but not least, I want to thank my brother Leo and my sister Lily. You have always been there for me no matter what, and I am so excited to begin a new milestone of life with you.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you for coming here today. My Torah portion is called Teruma. The Torah portion Teruma is about the building of the first sanctuary. After Moses receives the Ten Commandments, he is also commanded by God to build a mikdash so that the Israelites can have a place to worship God. Before the creation of the first sanctuary, the Israelites worshiped God on hilltops, next to streams, or wherever they felt moved to pray. But now they were going to have a permanent place. God instructs Moses to ask each Israelite to bring teruma, which is a gift or a contribution, so that they can use these donations to purchase materials for the construction of the tabernacle. God says to Moses, "And let them make me a mikdash, that I may dwell among them." God explains to Moses in vivid detail what the sanctuary should look like. He even provides dimensions for the measurement of the walls. The sanctuary was to contain the Ark of the Covenant, with its sacred stones on which the Ten Commandments were inscribed. It was placed in the Holies of Holies, a chamber inside the tabernacle with a curtain to protect it. The ark itself was made of acacia wood overlaid with gold. Moses is also instructed to build a menorah or lampstand of pure hammered gold to hold 7 lamps. God tells Moses that at the tabernacle, "There I will meet with you, and I will speak to you, and I will command you concerning the Israelite people." From a young age, I was taught that God is everywhere. However, after studying teruma, I understand why it is important to have a place where we as Jews can pray and know that God is listening and watching over us. I love many traditions about Judaism. I love having Shabbat dinners with my family and friends, sharing Passover seders with my cousins, and traveling to Israel. I have also enjoyed over the years coming to the synagogue to celebrate Simchas Torah, Purim, the high holidays, my friends' bat mitzvahs, and now my own. Old Westbury Hebrew congregation began with teruma. Members of our community made donations and started the synagogue. We can see some of the same characteristics here as described in the Torah. The ark, the curtain to protect the Torahs, the menorah, all here thousands of years later. In fact, when I visited Israel, I learned that the members who started the synagogue used the same limestone that is found throughout Jerusalem in this sanctuary. They wanted Jews in our community to have a place to go and be there for each other. I read in one of the articles that the rabbis believe that Judaism has continued for so many years because through synagogues, Jews have been able to read Torah, to pray, and know that there is always a place for them. Because synagogues have come to symbolize the strength and fortitude of the Jewish faith, it is likely why they have recently become targets. However, we must follow the lead of heroic Rabbi Citron Walker in Colleyville, Texas. When after he and his congregants were held hostage in the shul, an interviewer asked, "Will you be able to go back there?" The rabbi replied, "Definitely. It will be difficult, but as a community, that is our place to come together." As people, we have to endure challenges, but we are also resilient. But we are also resilient, and the Beit Knesset is the place to overcome this. When I was talking about my Torah portion with my parents, they told me that no matter what part of the world I am in, if I'm ever in trouble, I should find a synagogue. This was something their parents taught them. After studying the Parashat Teruma, I am grateful that I am able to become a bat mitzvah in this synagogue. Becoming a bat mitzvah means that I'm entering adulthood, and now I'm responsible for my own actions. I understand that it is my responsibility to be a good person to my family and friends. I also believe it is important that wherever I am, I will become a member of a temple so that I can help carry on the tradition and be a part of the Jewish community. I would like to thank Rabbi Stanger for helping me write my speech and teaching me about my Torah portion. Special thanks to Cantor Caravani for giving me bat mitzvah lessons and helping me with the prayers. I would also like to thank the staff at OWHC for teaching me for so many years. my friends for always being there for me, and my family for helping me with whatever I need. Leo, thanks for being such a great brother. I love watching and talking about baseball with you. Ariel, thank you for being someone I can always count on. You're one of my best friends, and I've loved going on this journey with you. Finally, my parents for always being so supportive and loving. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
That was wonderful. I'm going to keep my remarks very brief. Now, stay here. Don't go yet. I just want to say a couple of quick things. That was fantastic, by the way. It was wonderful to work with you. I'm happy, by the way, to continue to talk baseball with you and Leo, right? Soccer, you got to talk to the cantor. Baseball, I'm your man. And I just remember you starting out here, how young you are. There was one Simchat Torah in particular where my daughter Ariel, I have an Ariel myself, and she's in college now, but I think she was in charge of all, the kids who had gathered. And she was like, those twin girls, Ariel and Lily, are so adorable. And I was like, I have trouble keeping them, apart. Like, I always confuse them, mesh them together. And she's like, no. She's like, Ariel always wears her hair parted, whereas, Lily kind of wears it straight down and, bangs. But something that I think you both said, because I mentioned how you guys have known each other since the day you were born, and Ariel's like, we've known each other longer than that, which is true. You're womb mates. I think it's great that you have one another to go through this adventure with and to continue this adventure together. Just as we read about the two cherubim, I'm going to talk about in my sermon, but the two angelic creatures that were on the lid of the Ark of the Covenant, the two of you really stand together, stand tall and proud, and are going through this amazing transformation, becoming Benot Mitzvah, or daughters of the commandments, together. And I'm going to call up someone who's no stranger to your family, because her daughter is in school with you guys, of course, and she's no stranger to this community. It's Molly Stein, who is our chair of the Board of Education. She's going to present you with gifts on behalf of our community. But one thing I do want to give to you guys before she does that is, if these look familiar at all, right? These candy fruit projectiles that you were so aptly dodging. I'm going to put 2 in each bag. Take them home with you. Put them in the freezer. It's going to sound a little crazy, but one day you're both going to find someone special. And when that happens, take them out of your freezer. Let them thaw for about a week or so. And on your wedding night, I want you to each have one with your significant other. The idea being you're going from simcha to simcha, from one joyous occasion within Jewish tradition to another.
Wow. First, on behalf of your OWHC family, Kruger's, Mazel Tov. You have 2 beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girls. And it has been my pleasure to see you grow up. When I met you, when we moved here in 2nd grade, you're part of the reason why my family is part of the OWHC family. I came to a Purim Carnival with Kylie, and we were schlepping back and forth to Great Neck still for Hebrew school, and I said, it's time to make a change. And when the 2 of you just grabbed her and ran, and I didn't see you for 2 hours, I knew that A, this would be our family's home, and B, you 3 girls would be friends. And it's just been so special to see you this big, and now you're taller than I am. And I'm just so very proud of both of you. And you spoke so beautifully, you chanted so beautifully. You are 2 wonderful products of our Hebrew school, and your commitment to Judaism, along with your family's commitment to Judaism, is just such a beautiful thing. And we are so proud of both of you. As a twin mom, I understand that a lot of things are together, but separately, you 2 deserve your own recognition, your own praise. I am just so honored to be here today. I really didn't think when you girls were 7 years old, I would be standing up here making a presentation for your Benot Mitzvah. It's just been an honor and a pleasure to watch you grow up, to be neighbors, to be friends, and just a a huge mazel tov to your entire family. And from the synagogue, we have for each of you, along with your candies for the future, a certificate, just being called to the Torah as a bat mitzvah here today, your English, the English date, your Torah portion, and something that you'll remember today, along with every person that's here with you celebrating how wonderful and beautiful you both are. We also have for you your own chumash, and I know that you'll keep it forever and remember today when you look at it, and hopefully read your Torah portion or your Haftorah maybe in 20 years from now in your own synagogues with your own families.
Or next year if it's open.
Why not? And also a Kiddush cup. So I know you celebrate Shabbat every week with your family, and now you each have your own Kiddush cup to remember the special day today, and just remember your OWHC family. We are here for you, your whole family, and we just are wishing you such a wonderful, hearty mazel tov. We are so very proud of you. And it's just such a pleasure to be here to celebrate you both. All right, now put these.
Yeah, and we're going to give you also your sermons. So one day when you guys become really, famous as the guitar playing, baseball playing twins, right? You keep them. This is your first official, speeches that you gave together. And one other thing I want to add is I hope I have the opportunity to continue to learn with you, especially next year with Wednesdays with the Rabbi, because I loved learning with you these past several months. It really, truly was an honor. And let me ask you to just bow your heads ever so slightly, as Cantor Caravani and I are going to pronounce it on the two of you in the Hebrew and the English, the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly benedictions.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך.
May you be gracious to you.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.
Lord God, gaze upon you always and extend to you and your family a lifetime of health, happiness, and most of all what we need in this world. Today, peace. I'm going to ask you to each take your gift bags and to walk over to your parents. I'm going to ask your mom and dad and Leah to rise in their seats. And if we could say together what's known as the very special bracha, the Shehachayanu blessing. So if you could repeat after me, it goes like this. Are you ready, Kruger sisters? Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehachayanu, v'kiyamanu, v'higiyanu, lazman hazeh. Praised are you, Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who has kept us and sustained us and caused us to arrive at this most auspicious occasion to many more shehachayanu moments together in your future. Amen, Selah. And we continue page 148. I always like to say a little Aramaic to keep us on our toes.
Kompolka min shemaya, china v'chizda v'rachamim v'chayni rechev mezona refukan v'chman. זר חיה וקיימה, זר חיה וקיימה, מי שברך אבותינו אברהם ויעקב, שר רבקה ורחל ולאה, הוא יברך את כל הקהל הקדוש הזה עם כל קהילות הקודש, הם ובניהם ובנותיהם וכל אשר להם, ומי שמייחדים בתי כנסיות לתפילה, ומי שבאים בתוכם להתפלל, ומי שנותנים נר למאור ויין לקידוש ולהבדלה ופת לאורחים, וצדקה לעניים וכל מי שעוסקים בצרכי ציבור ובמדינת ישראל באמונה, הקדוש ברוך הוא ישלם שכרם ויסיר מהם כל מחלה וירפא לכל גופם ויסלח לכל עוונם וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם עם כל ישראל ישראל לכם נאמר ונאמר אמן עם כל ישראל ישראל לכם ונאמר אמן.
Please rise as we're led in a prayer for our country in the English, bottom of page 148.
Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask your blessings for our country, for its government, for its leaders and advisors, and for all who exercise just and rightful authority. Teach them insights from your Torah, and that they may administer all affairs of state fairly, that peace and security, happiness and prosperity, justice and freedom may forever abide in our midst. Creator of all flesh, bless all the inhabitants of our country with your spirit. May citizens of all races and creeds forge a common bond in true harmony to banish hatred and bigotry and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions that are the pride and glory of our country. May this land, under your providence, be influenced for good throughout the world, uniting all people in peace and freedom, helping them to fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they experience war anymore. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
A prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu Shebashamayim, rock and redeemer of the people Israel. Bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shield it with your love. Spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen.
Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'golo. Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'golo. Barech, barech et Medinat Yisrael, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו, הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, פרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. ושלח אורך ועמיתך לראשיה, שריה ויועציה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך. אבינו, אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. חזק את ידי מגנרת קודשנו, בהנחילם אלוהינו ישועה, ועטרת ניצחון תעטרם, נתת שלום בארץ ושמחת עולם ליושביה, ונאמר Amen.
You may be seated. We continue responsively with the Ashrei, middle of 151.
Ashrei Yoshvei Vetecha, Od Yehallelu Sela.
Ashrei Ham Shekacha Lo, Ashrei Ham Shadai Elohav.
Tehillah LeDavid, Aromimcha Elohai HaMelech, V'avracha Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed.
Bechol Yom Avarcheka, V'ala Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed.
Gadol Adonai Umchalal Me'od, V'li Gdulato Ein Cheker.
Dor L'dor Yishabach Lasecha, Ugurotecha Yagidu.
Hadar kevod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
V'zuz nartecha yameru, gdulatacha saprana.
Zecher rav tuvcha yabiu, v'tzidkatcha yiranenu.
Chanun brachom Adonai, erech apam udol chased.
Tov Adonai lako, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav.
Yodu Adonai kol maasecha, v'chasidecha yivrachucha.
Kevod malchutcha yomeru, ugvuratecha yidaberu.
L'odielu nedam gevrotav, v'kvod adar malchuto.
Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor vador.
Somech Adonai l'chol hanoflim, zokef l'chol hakfufim.
Enecho Elohai yisaberu, ve'ata noten lachem et achla beito.
Poteach et yadecha, u'matzbiah l'chol charatzon.
Sadik Adonai bechol derachav, ve'chasid bechol ma'asav.
Karov Adonai l'chol karav, l'chol asher karov ebed.
Ratzon yerav ya'aseh, ve'et shavatam yishma ve'yoshiem.
Shomer Adonai kol havav, v'erkoshaim yashmid.
Techilat Adonai yedaber pi, vivrech kol basar shem kadsho le'olam va'ed. Hallelujah.
I'd like to invite up to help us return the Torah to the Ark, Danielle and Brian Gross, and Lauren and David Barkin. And page 153, please everyone rise as we begin the service, Hachnasat Sefer Torah, returning the Torah scroll to the Ark.
Come this way, please. Come here, please. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Ki nizkar shmo levado. Eshama li, vayaveh even le'amo, ki la'lo asita, zivnei Yisrael afiroto. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Mizmor leDavid, Hamul Adonai melech, Hamul Adonai kavod, Hamul Adonai kevod, Shemo yishtach Hamul Adonai ve'akodesh. Kol Adonai Adonai merak kavod yirim, Adonai mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'akova, Kol Adonai be'ala, Kol Adonai shomer arazim, vayishaber Adonai et avzei habanot, vayakidem kemo eged lebanot b'Sion, kemo ben Levi. Kol Adonai רוצה לעמוד אש, Kol Adonai יחי תקווה, יחי Adonai תקווה הקדש. Kol Adonai יכול לחיות בית הסוף, יעמוד לו בחלום כולו, אומר קרבו, עמוד על הממות. שם יש שם אדוני מלך העולם, אדוני עושה אדוני ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, ובכל ימיו שובה וללכותך בית ישראל. קום אדוני למנוחתך, אתה ואהרון עוזיך, כהניך בשוצק בחזרננו. בעבור דוד עבדך, אל תשב פני משיחך. Who is open the... One second. את חיים היא למחזיקים בה בתומכיה מאושרות דרכיה דרכי נוח בכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני ונלך חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו כקדם.
You may be seated. You're all free to go in the order. Shabbat Shalom. This morning, we have heard from two sweet, adorable young ladies. We got to double our joy and double our simcha. And speaking of double, in this week's Parsha, Truma, we read of the golden cherubim, which faced one another on the lid of the Ark of the Covenant. Now, people are always surprised when I talk about cherubim being a Jewish concept. In the Hebrew, the term is keruv. And in the Talmud, it describes the term as originating from the Aramaic kruviyah, which means child, which led the ancient rabbis to hypothesize that these cherubim must have had the face of babes, not unlike the term cherubic we employ today to denote a term of endearment, or the Cupid-like babies that are conjured up every year around Valentine's Day. However, the original cherubs are heavily steeped in Near Eastern practice and myth, and they are depicted as having the face of a man, not a child, the body of a lion, or in some cases a bull, and the wings of an eagle, not too dissimilar from a sphinx. Bas reliefs of these mythical creatures can still be found in the ancient Near East wing of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. People are also surprised to hear that giant statues of these cherubs were erected by King Solomon in the Jerusalem temple, flanking the Ark of the Covenant in the Holy of the Holies. And while it's true that we're not supposed to have representative statues and physical images or icons in Jewish tradition, obviously there is an exception to every rule. Just think of all the times you've seen sculpted lions flanking the Ten Commandments in synagogues. And the story of creation, after Adam and Eve are forever banished from the Garden of Eden, the original paradise, these cherubim were stationed there to guard it from mankind ever trespassing. For all we know, they're still there to this day. So that could have been the inspiration for including their imagery on holy objects and in sacred spaces back in biblical times. However, this whole parsha is not just about figures and figurines, but about the beginning of Jewish communal worship as we know it today. The sanctuary, the tabernacle, however you understand the Mishkan in Hebrew. The first Jewish space of communal worship in history, and it predated the Jerusalem temple and every synagogue we have ever known, even the one here today. It was considered and constructed as a sacred space and a safe place, a haven to feel God's presence. Some scholars even posit it was God's actual resting place or throne room. A Hebrew verse from this very parsha states, Asu li migdash v'shachanti bitocham, which also happens to be emblazoned on the wall outside our synagogue in the brick as you drive up, although now it's partially obscured by the trees. The Hebrew, of course, is hinting at something more, something deeper, because as it grammatically states, build for me a sanctuary that I shall dwell amongst you, bitocham, not it, which would be bitocho. You see, holiness is about us coming together to worship and even build something communal, a partnership, to be together, to pray together, make sacrifices together, believe together. As slaves, our ancient ancestors were maybe lucky to have a little room or a ledge in their shacks to meditate or worship the God of Israel. But now, as free people, without yet a physical permanent home to settle in, they had a set of laws, a God who led them, and a prophet in Moses. And now their very own portable structure so they could worship anywhere because they were a people together. Even when they were on the move, wandering for over 40 years, they needed a place of worship to coalesce around and feel God's presence, sustain their belief and traditions as one people. And that is why today you can have synagogues throughout the world, not just in Israel or Jerusalem, here and anywhere. God travels with us. God is with us as much as we are with one another, anywhere and everywhere. But perhaps all that is a bit reductive in these days, because in present circumstances, with the threat of both domestic and international terrorism hanging over our heads, the seemingly constant challenge of COVID, how safe do our sacred spaces and prayer places truly feel? An op-ed piece in the New York Times written by a Christian clergyman the other day discussed the need for churches and perhaps all places of worship to finally cease offering services remotely. The belief being that true worship can only best be conducted when parishioners come together physically in the same space and spiritually engage with and energize one another in not only concentrated prayer, but their very presence. Something that was lost when people zoomed in from their homes or workplace over a computer screen. And now that COVID numbers seem, thank God, Kenahara, to finally be trending down, perhaps that is something to consider for the near future. The name of this week's Parsha, as I mentioned, coincidentally, is Truma, which refers to gifts or donations presented to the sanctuary when the fledgling Israelite nation came together and undertook the building project. And often, when an invitation to a simcha is extended, it's noted, "We request the honor of your presence," not presence with a T. Just think about what the greatest gift for any parent is. It's often to see their children come together. So it is with our one divine parent. Our greatest gift to God is our presence. And it's also our greatest gift as Jews to one another. Currently, I'm in the midst of a biography of the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, who chronicled the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem by the Roman general Titus. What is most disturbing to read, however, is Josephus' account of how utterly divided the Jewish defenders of Jerusalem were 2,000 years ago. They constantly turned on one another. Petty squabbles, rivalries, they stole from one another, betrayed one another, often literally, not figuratively, stabbing each other in the backs. To hear Josephus' written account from that period, it was their own division and factualization amongst one another that led to the inevitable Roman conquest of the city and the destruction of the temple. And today, all we have left of that wondrous site is the Western Wall and a few ruins. We have so much to contend with as Jews, even to this day, that we should be united whenever and wherever possible. And only in our holy places, most of all, must we come together in unity. Consider the brave men like Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker and his congregants who acted and had faith, agency, and enough composure to free themselves. You could say God was with them at that moment they escaped. But then you could also ask, where was God in Pittsburgh, or Poway, or the Hyper Kasher market in Paris a few years back? Where was the cherubim to guard us then? How safe can we truly feel? How secure can we truly be? Perhaps there's no true answer, other than we have to now be there all the more so for one another. Just as we once came together to follow instructions and construct the first tabernacle in the desert thousands of years ago when we were open and exposed, newly freed slaves, we have to be there for one another today. We must turn out whenever and wherever possible, and never turn on one another. God helps those who help themselves. Synagogues are made here on earth and not dropped down, ready-made from the heavens. We have to rely on one another as Jews, and we have to continue to act and support one another, as we don't know what the future may hold vis-a-vis COVID or terrorism, but we do know if the future is to have Jews, we have to be here and now. In the here and now, and think of this and places like it as a true safe haven as much as possible. If we can't have faith here, then where can we? If we can't feel safe here, where can we? Let's all feel God's presence, but more to the point, feel emboldened, and on this very cold day, feel warmed by one another's presence. We are here and should have very little to fear. God is with us when we are with one another. Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for the Chatzi Kaddish, which introduces the Musaf Amidah, page 155. I'm going to call up Lily and Ari to help out.
Yitgadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divra kirutei ve'amlich malchutei ve'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayedecho bet Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehesh merabah mevora le'olam ulal me'omaya yidbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitroma ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yithaleh ve'yithalal shemei dekudesha brechu le'elamim kol berchata ve'shirata Tush v'chata v'nehema arta dami iram ve'alma ve'meru. Amen.
We begin on page 156, the Amidah from Musaf again. This is the standing portion of the service. If you're able, I encourage all to face straight ahead, eastward, not towards me, but the Holy Ark, and of course towards Jerusalem. On the second page, you're going to hear Kivodo Male Olam, God's glory fills the entire earth, or God's presence fills the entire earth, and Ayim Imkom Kivodo, where is the place of God's glory? There's a story about a Rebbe who asked his students, Ayim Imkom Kivodo, where is the place of God's glory? And they answered, that's easy. It's right there in the liturgy, it's right there in Ezekiel, Kivodo Male Olam. God's glory fills the entire universe. And he says, no. God's glory is wherever we let God in. So let's try to give our full attention to not just Cantor Caravani, but to Ariel and Lily as they help lead us in this very special prayer.
Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hadorah, El Elyon, Gomer Hasadim Tovim, Kamer Hakol,
וזוכר חסדי אבות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהן למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן.
ברוך אתה אדוני,
מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכה חיים בחסד. מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, ישנה עבדיו, מי כמוך תמיד ומדום אליו, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומתיר ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. נעריצך ונקדישך, כנועם שיח שרפי קודש המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. כבודו מלא עולם משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, יהיה מקום כבודו לעומתם ברוך יאמרו. ממקומו יפן ברחמים ויחונם המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים באהבה שמה אומרים שמה
ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
שמה ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, איי, הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ודברי קודשך כתוב לאמור.
לדור ודור,
דור ודור,
לדור ודור,
דור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתנה קדיש, קדושתנה קדיש. ושיבה אלוהינו מאבינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, גדול וקדוש אתה. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, גדול וקדוש אתה.
ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Continue to daven silently in the Hebrew and the English through page 161. If you're still davening the Amidah, please don't interrupt. We conclude page 181, Kaddish Shalem.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ועלמא דיברה קורותיהם מוחותיהם בחיי כל המכון ובחייתך ובצאצאיה בהגרז מכרי ואימרו
אמן.
יהי שמי רבה.
Memora. לעולם ולעולם יומיה.
יתברך ושתבע ויתפע ותרומה ויתנשא ויתיידע ותראה ותעלה שמי דקודשה.
ברכו.
לעילם כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בעלמא ואימרו.
Amen.
יתקבץ לו טון ובו דכל ישראל קודם עבוד ישמע ואימרו.
Amen.
יש למה רבה משמע וחיים רבה כל ישראל ואימרו.
Amen.
עושה שלום.
ממרומה.
הוא
הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, היי, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, היי, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו Amen.
Amen.
You may be, very good. You may be seated. We continue with page 182 in Keloheinu. And we invite up Leo to join his sisters up on the bima.
Don't worry, okay. אין כאלוהים. You good? 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. אין כאלוהינו, אין כאדוננו, אין כמלכנו, אין כמושיענו. מי כאלוהינו, מי כאדוננו, מי כמלכנו, מי כמושיענו. נודה לאלוהינו, נודה לאדוננו, נודה למלכנו, נודה למושיענו. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Madonkeinu, Baruch Maruteinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shektiru, Avotenu, Levanecha et Torah Hasamim.
Big hand to Leo. Good job. Alenu.
And please rise for Aleinu and any of Lily and Ariel's friends who want to join them on the beam and help. We invite them up.
Yeah.
Come on, Chloe. Come on, Kylie.
You want to come to help? Coming up.
You guys come.
Coming up. Let's go. Stay. You stay. Coming closer, everyone.
Please rise.
I'm more than happy. 1, 2, 3.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה לעושה בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו ככם, וגורלנו ככל אדונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומשבית הרוב בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זאת בגוהר מרובים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ועדת היום ואשר בוחר לבניך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד.
כן נקבלך אדוני אלוהינו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Warner's Kaddish, page 184. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei rabah ve'alma divrach v'ritei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kari v'yimeru amen. Yehei shmei rabah mivarach le'olam u'me'olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipo'or v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah brechu. Leila min kol birchata v'shilata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran b'yalma v'yimeru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. Aseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. You may be seated. First and foremost, I want to thank Lily and Ariel Kruger on an amazing Benot Mitzvah. You guys were great. This is our first Benot Mitzvah of 2022. So very happy to have you both up here. And I just want to also point out that exactly a month from now is Kylie Stein. So Molly, of course, being on the bima is an honor. And also our president, Sandra Weingarten. We're very happy to have her here this morning. Always happy to have her. Speaking of presents, it's a gift for us, her spiritual support. And as far as further announcements, it's a regular week as far as minyan times, 9:30 a.m. tomorrow over Zoom, 6:15, and 7:15 in person or over Zoom. And then the regular time, 6:15 every evening, and Tuesday through Friday, it's 8:30 a.m. over Zoom. Of course, we have a lot of classes that are going on, both in person and over Zoom, and some classes that are going to be starting at the end of the month or next month. So please read the Shabbat announcements, and also look for the email blasts we send out over Shul Cloud as far as things that are coming down the pike, like a class in Musar, which is rabbinic ethics, and a class on positive psychology, and things of that nature. Thursday evening, there is a special program over Zoom with Eric Post, the director of the American Jewish Committee, who will be speaking about anti-Semitism at 7 p.m. What's the time? 7 p.m. An email will go out on Monday, but if you look at the Shabbat announcements, it is in there. And I think that's all the announcements for now. Is there anything else to say? No? We're okay. So we're going to conclude with Adon Olam, page 187, and then Kiddush and Hamotzi.
אדון עולם, רגולר מוזיק? אדון אחד, שתיים, שלוש.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחסרו כל אזי מלך שמו נברא והרג ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להגבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז המשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי בצור אלי בצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום מקרא בידו אקים רוחי ואת אישן והעירה ועם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא אירה.
I'm going to invite anyone who would like to join us for Kiddush and Hamotzi to come forward. We have wine for the adults and grape juice for the children. Our wine tastes like grape juice. Again, I want to thank the Kruger Baberman families for being here this morning, sponsoring the Kiddush. We love your daughters and we love your family. We can't wait to work with Leo. His bar mitzvah can't get here soon enough. and all the friends and family who are both here from near or far or who zoomed in remotely, Mazal Tov and Shabbat Shalom. Please come forward. And if you're a new family especially, please, if you feel comfortable, introduce yourself to me or Cantor Caravani or our president, Sandra Weingarn, who's handing out the wine and the grape juice now. We would love to meet you, and please know you're always welcome here this Shabbat and any future Shabbatot. We're honored to have you here this morning.
Look, a special color we have it here.